So I've been testing a lot of this format for Toronto, and the kind of core concept I've come to realize is that it's really hard to win on the draw with basically everything. Um, just this whole issue of cards like Silumgar Scorn, or just like even just going like Fleecemane Lion into Siege into like 3 drop into Siege Run or whatever, just so much better on the play. And like there's just so many situations where like if you're on the play, you get to play a creature before their creature, and all the threats really line up in terms of like cost. So like if you play your threat first and then they play their threat, you can just kill their threat and attack. Whereas if you're on the draw, like you play your threat and then they just kill it, or you kill their threat and they're just like, I'll play another threat, and you're like, oh well, this is the same situation I was in before, where I just play my threat and they kill it. So it's really hard to win on the draw. Um, that's in part because the relevant cards in the format start so high, like so high up, so it's hard to get underneath people with relevant cards. So I was trying to look at decks that might be able to solve this and win on the draw. And the first deck I found was the red deck from last week, which was just like 1 drop, 2 drop. It has like relevant early cards, and punishes people for just being on like a single threat or whatever. And then I looked at other things, and I kind of realized that Elvish Mystic was the other way to do that. I was trying to find a good Elvish Mystic deck, and this is the first one that I kind of wanted to try, which is the green-white collected company aspect of Hydra style deck, played at Pro Tour Dragons Arceer by Bram Snevangers, and then at GP Krakow by Antonio Moral de Leon. The two of them had reasonable finishes, top 16 in each of those respective events, I believe. I think Brum, he 9-1 constructed. That was the important part. But overall, the concept of the deck seemed pretty interesting, and I had lost to it before, so I wanted to give it a go. And for those not familiar with it, this is a list that I believe was posted by Frank Karsten last week for you guys now, and I don't really want to say it's not really an aspect of Hydra deck. It just happens to have aspect of Hydra in it. I might want to try out the mono green list with more aspects, but we'll see. Really, it's a collected company deck, trying to put good creatures into play with company, like Lion and Raptor, and really just Lion and Raptor. And then you have Dem Protector looping, and that's one of the things you can do with Aspect is like Aspect plus Dem Protector basically kills your opponent on its own, because the Dem Protector is the evasion to force the Aspect through, and if you cast it twice, it should be enough for lethal. You're splashing white because the format lets you. You do have, 2 Confluence, 4 Heath, 4 Plenty, or Temple of Plenty. You can play Plains. And you get the good removal out of that, plus some Cyber cards, plus Fleecemane as another good early drop to company into. The mono green lists are basically stuck playing, I believe, Heir of the Wilds, which is a lot worse, especially if your opponent starts killing all of your other things. Let's see. Avatar of the Resolute's okay. It's another way to get Aspect through. Occasionally it boosts up, but it's just a fine 2-drop, 3 power for 2 mana is like not the worst thing in the world. Boon Satyr's kind of a liability if other people have Dromoka's Command, but I think that card is on the downfall after the rise in Esper Dragons. You can't really afford to play cards like that it just doesn't interact at all. Like at least Hero's Downfall or Valorous Stance can kill an Ojutai that's attacking. The 2 Reverend Hunters is a bit little if you think there's going to be mid-range mirrors all around. But if you expect control, like you have to shave on that card. And then Sorok's just like another big creature. The sideboard looks kind of weird, but the cards do serve a purpose. Gather Courage is this good tempo play against things like dragons, the red-green dragon decks, or similar to that, where you can actually just pay 0 mana to counter their spell. Rex Sage takes out Perilous Vault is the big one, and just some oddball stuff here and there. There's just like a lot of random enchantments, like you want to kill Whip of Erebos or something like that. And with 2 Reclamation Sages and Collecting Company, you can easily find multiple copies of that card, even if you just have 2. I guess not easily, but it's finding your first copy is fairly easy. Just Nylea's Disciples for red decks, obviously. Mastery of the Unseen is like your anti-control tool. Dromoka's Command, where that card is good. it just does a lot of things, and there's a lot of cases where it's good. It's possible that many Rec Sages and commands is too many anti-enchantment effects. Like, you might not need that many commands as removal. You might want different removal. And then Archetype of Courage is this kind of trump in these creature matchups. You just kind of put it into play, and your opponent's just like, like, you have Death Touch First Strike, I can't attack. Or, like, you just put it into play in combat with Collecting Company, and your opponent just loses all of their things. So that card's actually quite good. But overall, playing against this deck, I was kind of shockingly impressed. And then it kind of fell off the radar, and I'm kind of interested to see if it still has legs, what can be done to fix it. And then from there, what other Elvish Mystics decks there are, because I think that Elvish Mystic on turn 1 is the best way to reverse the tempo of being on the draw.